Hey everyone, this is Norbert, and today I have a fun deck profile for you. This is Clown Crew Roulette with a little twist that you're going to see in a second. The format has been going on for a while, and I wanted to try something fun, and I didn't want to play a roulette pile, so I paired it with something that is fun for me, and that is Clown Crew, and there's actually a lot of synergies here. So before we get into the deck, if you like this kind of content and you want to know how I built this deck, I wanted to make a guide of actually advanced deck building. If you want to see that, then leave a comment down below, like and subscribe and all that. But let's hop into the profile, and whenever a card has an interesting interaction, I'm just going to talk about it. But for the roulette stuff, we of course play 3 Griffo. This is the best starter. Using it in your opponent's turn, very good. If you draw this going second, you feel very good. So and it also plays around draw. Draw is a big problem for this deck, but Griffo helps with that. And then we play 2 Black Chaos. A lot of the combo versions play only 1 because it is a redundant push to the Griffo, which I can understand. So I'm still on 2 because that leaves me at 5 copies. That means on average I will have 1 of them. Next we have 3 Ragged Rights, which are more copies of these, but there's also another target for this, so that this is not redundant to this. We have the Ritual Monsters, of course, the Ritual Spell. I actually played without the BLS. I put it in later because this is not a big combo deck, so you want to get to turn 3, and having an indestructible monster can help you with that. Plus, it also helps against big monsters just to clear fields. Against Lunalight, for example, they can only end on like Liger Dancer. If they have any other monster, you can just run over it. So Blackluster Soldier is pretty nice here, and then 1 Ritual Spell. There have been people saying, do you want 1 or 2? But I think 1 is correct. If you manage your resources correctly, you don't need more than 1. You just need to know where your ritual is for your Ragged Rights and your Skull Archfiends. 1, I think, is optimal. Then we have this 2 Skull Archfiend. This is standard. You want to recycle 1 with the other, right? And you want to use 1 on your turn, 1 on your opponent's turn for the setup. So 2 is good. And this actually also is good with the Clown Crew cards. You'll see that in a second. Then we have 2 Mind Shuffle. Of course, you don't want to draw this. There's a 42 card list, so there's a high possibility to actually have this, and you don't want your Griffo and your Black Chaos to be dead. And then we have 1 Celtic Mystic. Now, this is a late inclusion, just because I used to have 2 Ragged Rights, but then I realized these are all the same card, basically. So if I draw 2 of them, it's basically -1 in hand. But like cutting the Ragged Rights means I don't have enough access to the Chaos Ritual engine. So what I did was I just said I need to make this card another push, right? That is not redundant to this. So I just included the Celtic Mystic for that. I didn't find a better idea. Of course, this can add Habakiri, but then we'd be talking about a 60 card list, which is probably decent, but I just wanted to keep it small and clean. So I just played the Celtic Mystic, and I was pretty happy with that. Now, this is a bit of anti-synergy because you kind of want to summon your Biancaviso, but it is not the end of the world if you don't normal summon him on your turn. You still get decent amount of draws, and if you set up your Chaos stuff alongside it, you'll be fine. So that is the Chaos Ritual part of the deck. Now let's go into the Clown part. We have 3 Flair and 3 Rehearsal. This is obviously your best starters. This basically adds you Rehearsal, or if you already have Rehearsal, you add something else. And what's also nice is both this card and this sends for cost, tributes for cost. So if you have any of these with the Skull Archfiend, you can just send this, and this will get you your Light and Darkness Ritual stuff as well. That's about it. And then we have 2 Biancaviso. 1 to summon on your turn, the other 1 to add, so that you can tribute summon it on the opponent's turn. What's really nice about this card, this is a level 7. So if you have this on the field, you can bounce it with Mind Shuffle, summon 1 of your rituals, and then you can use your Trap in the Grave to tribute summon this card, and then obviously you can use this effect to tribute summon the other ones. The effects on summon are not once per turn, it's just 1 effect. So you can draw once per turn and you can negate once per turn. So summoning this and then this, you get 2 kinds of effects off of that. And then for the other cards, we have one Matinee, one Malabarism, and one Soiree Operations. Only one of this because we are a hybrid deck, and I feel like we max out on starters. We need to run the second Bianca Visa, and the rest is one-offs. We don't run New Phase. We don't need New Phase because the Chaos engine does the recycling for us. So playing the New Phase is just another brick that we don't want. This is a Chaos Ritual deck. It already has a lot of bricks. And of course, the Matinee Operatics is the key piece because you draw up to 6 cards with this. It's worth noting that both of these can also summon the Bianca Visa from the deck. So if you need a high-level monster for your Mind Shuffle, these can also provide you with that. The Trap as well, right? They all just summon a Clown Crew monster from your deck or extra deck, so you just summon this. Just note that if you summon this from the deck, you cannot use the quick effect to tribute summon because all of these lock you out of using effects from the extra deck. But that is pretty much the Clown Crew cards. And now we get to the fun part of the deck, and that is the Burger Engine. We have one Nouvelle normal summon, we have one Angry Burger, and the most important card is the Hamburger Recipe. So if you don't know what these do, this card, the only thing that is important here is it mentions Hungry Burger. Everything else doesn't matter. You never activate this. This card is always treated as Hungry Burger. So what does that mean? That means that if you send the Skull Archfiend to your grave, you can send the Hamburger Recipe and add yourself your Angry Burger. Angry Burger can then add your Nouvelle normal summon, and then you can normal summon this, and this adds a level 1 ritual monster, which is your Clown Crew Flare. So I can show that combo later on, but basically this is your bridge from Roulette into your Clown Crew. And another fun little thing is this is a warrior monster. So that means that you can shuffle it back with your Black Chaos. What's also interesting is the way this card works is that you reveal it, you add a Nouvelle card, and then you shuffle it back. However, it doesn't have to be in your hand in resolution. So if you have Mind Shuffle, right, and you haven't activated yet, you can activate the Angry Burger, chain the Mind Shuffle, add your Black Chaos, discard the Angry Burger. It still resolves and grabs you a Nouvelle card. So now you have these 2 cards, and the Black Chaos is ready to shuffle back your Angry Burger and banish your opponent's field. So fun little interactions, but all in all, this is just your way of bridging the Mind Shuffle into your Clown Crew engine. So that was the basic idea of this deck, why I built it. I wanted to play the Angry Burger. Non-engine, we have 3 Fua, 3 Harmonia. Harmonia is just a god card in roulette decks. I feel if you can play this, this is just so good. It's a high-level monster, high-impact interaction. You can bounce it with Mind Shuffle and then use it again. Generally, roulette thrives on high-impact non-engine, so Harmonia is just an excellent fit. I did play Droll. Droll is a toss-up in the current format. Against some decks, it is awful. Against some decks, it is really, really good, or the only thing you can do. For my locals, I just like Droll because that's just a good card against decks that are played there. Then I tried 2 Nibiru. I was just looking for another non-engine. I was thinking of Purulia, but then I had to adjust my siding patterns for that. And I was thinking, I want to try out Nibiru because nobody plays around it. It is a high-level monster. It does tribute, and it is a high-level monster enough to require 2 tributes. So if you have like a weird hand, we have like the Malabarism and the Nib. You can Malabarism, set up 2 clown monsters, tribute summon the Nib or the Harmonia, and you still get to play somehow. A lot of nice little things for that. I actually liked the Nib. It helped me survive the game where I bricked on the 2 Mind Shuffle. So yeah, if your opponent doesn't play around it, you have Griffo and Nibiru. You just Griffo you just Nibiru them. Then you Griffo, Mind Shuffle, and you bounce your Nibiru and summon your monster, which is really good. Lastly, I have 2 Fawn the Virtuous. This is just a good flexible non-engine, helps you with grind game. We play synchro monsters anyway for Harmonia. And what's also important is that with Matinee Operatics, you draw a bunch of cards, and you can then set a spell or trap. So we can just set this, and then you have this set up. You could also have like a Veiler here, but Veiler is too low impact for me. Ash Blossom, the same. You can play Ash Blossom, of course, but I like to form the Virtuous here. So that is the main deck, 42, as I said. And now let's move on to the extra deck. We just play 2 of all the Clown Crews, because that means they can recycle themselves, right? You use one to set, and then use the other one to bounce all the Xyz. Now they're back in your deck. Of course, the Skull Archfiend can help you recycle those as well. So if you want to include another extra deck card, you can cut one card of them down to 1. Like, for example, the Link and the Synchro are the ones you use the least. You use them every game, basically, but you use these like every time in your standard combo. But yeah, the Fiends set you your spell. This sets your trap. This adds back a Clown Crew card from your graveyard. So basically, at the end of your combo, what you want to do is you tribute this to make your Nerva, and this adds back your Bianca Viso, so you have it back in hand. And of course, if you are playing against an Xyz Fusion or a Synchro deck or Link deck, you can also use the other effect to bounce all the cards with the appropriate frame. For example, against a Radiant Typhoon, they had like a board set up, and I was just using the Clown Crew Fiends to get rid of their Totem Burden or whatever they had. And against Branded, this also like uses the graveyard, right? So you can just bounce the whole graveyard of Branded and they don't get the follow-up. Worth noting that the Lair also has that effect. If it gets tributed, you can either flip a monster down, or you can bounce all the ritual monsters from hand and graveyard. Against Mitsurugi, this is really good, because once you bounce the ritual monsters from the grave, they are no longer properly summoned. They can't really play the game that way. There is something still to be said about Dristy here, which is the newest one. The other tribute effect of Dristy is both players shuffle their hands back into the deck and draw the same amount of cards, which can be a good interruption if the opponent just added something important. You tribute this, they shuffle it back, and they have a chance to not draw it again. But what's really incredibly toxic about this card is the interaction with draw. Now, if you played during Trickstar format, you know this, but basically, if your opponent adds a card and you tribute this, right, you have to set up the chain that way. So what you have to do is you have a way to tribute summon as a quick effect, and you have the Dristy on the field. So let's say your opponent activates something to add a card, right? Let's just go this, right? They activate a Rhoda or whatever. To that effect, you chain a tribute, right? Then you go tribute to Dristy, summon this card, and then they add their card, and now you're in a draw window. But you also have trigger effects. So what you're going to do is you're going to go chaining 1 Dristy to shuffle back, and then chaining 2 Bianca Viso to draw, just so that you can chain block this from Ash, and then chaining 3, you will draw. So now what happens is the Dristy will resolve as much as it can, so both players have to shuffle their hands back, and they don't get to add. So you basically, if your opponent starts the turn with an add, and you have the draw in hand, you will always have this setup, right? You can Clown Crew Soiree, summon the Dristy, and then banish it to summon the Bianca Viso. You will just win the game that way, which is very toxic. Usually you will have enough follow-up in the grave, so you don't need your hand. But what I also like to do is to, with the Soiree, also summon the Meteor, right? And then you tribute both of them, and then you set up the chain so that you first, chaining 1 is the Meteor, chaining 2 is the Dristy, chaining 3 is the Bianca Viso, chaining 4 is the Droll. And then you do this. This doesn't do anything. This shuffles both hands back. You don't have any cards in hand. And then the Meteor as the last piece will add you something back from your grave. So you can just add back a starter from the grave. So that's the only card in your hand. And even if you don't have any setup at all, you will have a starter plus a Bianca Viso to tribute with it. So this is just the cheap auto win button. if you happen to draw it. I didn't do it when I played this deck and at locals, but it is something you can do. So that is a lot of talk about the Clown Crew monsters. So let's finish the extra deck. You of course have the Nerva. I showed you that. This is just to tribute 3 monsters with different types from the extra deck. So that you clean up your field and you tribute whatever types you didn't tribute yet. And you trigger some effects. So usually what you do is you use Nerva, you tribute the Meteor that you summoned off the Matinee, and you tribute the Biancaviso, and then you tribute a 3rd monster with a different type for this, so that you can add back the Biancaviso, and then you have everything set up. The last card for the Clown Crew stuff is the Linkuriboh. This provides you with an easy Link monster to tribute, but also to revive itself from the grave, it tributes a monster. So your targets for that are the Flare and the Nouvelle monsters. So you make the first one with the Linkuriboh, and then the second one you tribute with the Linkuriboh, and then you tribute the Linkuriboh, and then you just get more types in rotation, so you can draw 6 in the end. Now the last slots in the extra are utility. We played 2 synchros already with the Meteor, so we need like 3 more for Harmonia, but I like to be safe with 6. So my targets are Packbit, which is really good. You have enough cards to discard, but also Packbit discarding the Skull Archfiend can get you your Angry Burger if you start with that. We have Omega just as Graveyard Hate. We have Malong if you want immediate impact, besides the Packbit, of course. And then we have, for the Fallen and the Virtuous, we have the Ecclesia, which you already run that anyway, but now it's also a synchro. And then you have the Albion as your fusion for Fallen and the Virtuous. That is the extra deck, and that concludes the deck profile. So let's show you the combo with your Griffo. All right, let's hop into the 1-card Griffo combo. Of course, any piece you have in your hand will change how you play the combo, but I just wanted to show off some interactions here. So you're going to go Griffo in the draw phase to set your Mind Shuffle, then you're going to flip it over and immediately activate the effect to play around a Ghost Ogre. You add your Skull Archfiend, you discard it, that triggers the Skull Archfiend. Send the Hamburger Recipe and add your Angry Burger. Now you're going to go into the main phase, activate the Angry Burger to grab your Nouvelle monster and put the Angry Burger back. And then you can go normal summon the Nouvelle monster, add your Flare, use the Flare effect, add your Rehearsal, discard whatever. Then you're going to use the Rehearsal to tribute your Nouvelle monster, add the Biancaviso and the Malabarism. That's going to trigger your Nouvelle to scale itself back, which is important. And then you can go Malabarism to summon your Fiends and Diabolo. And now what you can do is you're going to go activate the Rehearsal in the grave to ritual summon, tributing your Diabolo for your Flare. That triggers the Diabolo and sets you your Soiree operations. Now that you have a ritual monster on the field, you can activate the Nouvelle card. So that is something I wanted to just mention, that if you have access to rollout anyway, for example with the Celtic Mystic summoning a ritual monster, you don't have to use your normal summon on the Nouvelle monster because it just needs a ritual monster on the field. So if you have your rollout engine online, you can just scale this, target your rollout monster, switch the position, and then summon this, and then this will add you your Flare in that case. But here you just want the body on the field. And we already normal summoned, so we cannot summon this. But what we can do is we have a Fairy and 2 Beast Warriors. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a Cyberse real quick. And then we can tribute all of these for Nerva. This will trigger the Nouvelle monster again, so you can scale it again. It's not once per turn for your next turn. And the Fiends will trigger and grab you your Matinee Operatics. You can flip that over and activate it. And here you have a choice. You can either special your Biancaviso from the deck. It cannot use the effect to tribute, but you will guarantee to have a monster to bounce with Mind Shuffle. Or if you want to draw an extra card, you can go ahead and special summon another copy of Flare. Because we haven't tributed the ritual monster yet, so we're going to special summon the Flare, and then we're going to go use Link Reaper effect to tribute this and summon it. So that puts a ritual in our tribute rotation. Lastly, and this is very important, you're going to use the Skull Fiend. You're going to shuffle back the Griffo, of course, and then you can recycle your 2 monsters here to summon this card back. Now these go into your extra deck, and now you just have a assessment of random monsters, but it'll all make sense. So what happens is you go to the end phase, and the matinee operatics will draw cards based on the amount of monsters you tributed. So what did we tribute? We tributed a ritual monster, we tributed a pendulum monster, we tributed a link monster, and we tributed an Xyz and a fusion. So we will go ahead and draw 5 cards here. And then we can set whatever. If we draw one of the virtuals, you can set it. If you draw like a rehearsal, you can just set it as a bluff plus its follow-up for the next turn. But basically, you will have, if you don't use any of these, you will have to discard some cards, but that is fine. So if you draw any of the ritual monsters, that's nice. You already have something to summon. But more importantly, is what happens in the next turn. So let's just get rid of some of these cards here. And what you can do is, of course, go for these soiree operations. You can, because you have a bunch of monsters on the field, you can obviously decide on the matchups. If you want the bounce of these, you just summon these. If you don't, you can add another Biancaviso. But what's more important is that, it's probably already in my hand here. Yeah. What's more important is you have the tribute effect here, and you can use it to tribute over the Skull Fiend and Nerva or whatever. So now you can use the draw effect or the negate effect, whatever you want, but also your Skull Fiend will trigger, sending a ritual, adding you one of the monsters, and then the Mind Shuffle can get you the other monster, and then you discard one of the cards that you don't need. And now you have the Clown Crew Biancaviso to bounce, to special, and you can just go ahead and play your game from here. So this is just if you don't draw any of these monsters, you have to do the whole dance here. Of course, if you draw one of these or Black Chaos, also fine. You can already start shuffling here, and you can be more patient with your soiree operations to just bounce your opponent monsters. Also important to note, if you happen to draw into Droll during your 5-card draw, or you already have it in a starting hand, you of course try to go for the hand loop here. It's not that unlikely that you'll find it, and then you sometimes just win the game on the spot. But yeah, that is pretty much how you go from roulette into the from clown into from roulette into clown back to roulette. So if you open just clown, what also often happens is you do the standard clown combo, right? You will end on the Biancaviso with all of this, and basically you will draw a bunch of cards, about 4 to 6, and if you draw one of either Griffo or Mind Shuffle, you're fine, because Griffo you can obviously discard and then use right away, but also Mind Shuffle, if you draw it with a matinee, you can set it and then you can use it in the opponent's turn. So you will oftentimes just have your setup anyway. But yeah, and then you just try to survive the turn and you draw more during the end phase of your opponent, and that should be more than enough to overwhelm them with advantage. So that is the combo. If you have more questions for the deck, leave it in the comments, or you can also join the Discord. The link is in the description. But with that being said, see you until next time.